whenever we reviewed the first Adrenaline Mob album? Yeah, that was kind of a train wreck. Remember whenever we reviewed the second one? That was almost worse. But here we are, Adrenaline Mob with We the People. This is the third album from this group that formerly had Mike Portnoy in it. They no longer have his services, but of course they still have the services of Russell Allen of Symphony X fame at the vocal helm. And what's interesting about this album is that whenever you initially look at it, it's 13 minutes, it's more than an hour long, you're immediately starting to dread, unless of course you were a huge fan of what they provided on the first two albums. So you stick it in, and you're kind of expecting the worst. Now, King of the Ring, which is the very first cutoff of this album, may actually signify some of your fears as coming true, considering it does feel like a bit of a gimmick song, almost like these guys are trying to get onto one of the WWE pay-per-views as their official musical sponsor. That way, more ears get to hear their music. But the problem with that assertment is that it's actually a fairly decent song. There's a lot of straightforward hard rock to be delivered here, and it's done so in a pretty nice way. You see, there's a difference between some of that modern radio hard rock and what you get with Adrenaline Mob, and it's the fact that the musicianship that is included here has a little bit more of a backbone to it. This is one that feels like it has a little bit more of a drive and a little bit more of a desire to it. They poured a lot more into this song, and this is just starting off the album. So you might think maybe this is a one-trick pony, but then we get into the title track and then the Killers Inside, which is nearly 6 minutes, and then you have to stop and take notice a little bit. The songwriting has certainly improved. Now granted, there is still, like I said, that veneer of a little bit more of a hard rock cadence to all of this. It's something that's not necessarily trying to blend in with the rest of the tech metal crowd or the prog rock crowd or anything like that. This is definitely one that has its roots with a little bit more of that modern metal, but it's being handled in a different way. It's instead being handled with a little bit better songwriting, with a little bit overall meaning. This is not just three-chord metal. This is not just something that is being done to try to appease a radio audience. The Killers Inside actually shows that you can expand on that a little bit more and deliver something that is actually pretty darn listenable and very good at the same time. The 6 minutes actually go by rather quickly, and you enjoy exactly what it is that you're getting yourself into. Bleeding Hands, Chasing Dragons, Till the Head Explodes all kind of have that same veneer. And now you're starting to take notice. Now you're thinking, wait a minute, how is it that this band has been able to shift themselves up so much from one album to the next? Perhaps the lull between albums, the gap, actually helped them to reconfigure themselves and refocus exactly where they wanted this band to go. But that's merely just a theory, because thus far, nothing on here really sounds like it's lackluster material. Now, some of it may come off as a bit, deliberate, either that or a bit samey to some of the other bands within the environment, but it's still something that's listenable. It's not something that you can necessarily say has just totally gone onto the toilet and blown their chunks all over it. It's instead something that feels pretty darn good, and it becomes a little bit more of an enjoyable listen. Now, whenever you get into the second half, you do get some of the ideas such as what you're made of, either that or raise them up, ignorance and greed, these sort of simple ideas that craft modern rock numbers. But once again, the songwriting focuses as the strength. And Russell Allen's voice on these songs is just so much better. He's starting to get a little bit of that snarl to him, and it almost feels like you are listening to something almost as though Symphony X decided to simplify their sound for an album, which I know nobody wants to hear, but at the same time, it makes you wonder if they did that, it might be good. It might actually be really, really good, considering his voice finally feels like it is one with this music. He is not trying to go above and beyond the Call of Duty. He's staying within the range of the songs. He's a very talented singer, which is why I don't understand why on the first two albums his voice just felt so flat. It felt like nothing really matched up very well. Now it finally does, and you're getting music that also seems to reflect that very well. You're getting solos that don't feel like they belong on a modern metal record. It instead feels like they're trying to school modern metal and say, hey, this is what rock used to be all about. This is what hard rock used to be all about. You listen to tracks from the 70s and 80s, and they have solos there that aren't just 5 seconds in length or 10 seconds. It's not just holding one note and it's all of a sudden the most brutal thing ever. It's instead musicianship, craftsmanship. You know, giving yourself the opportunity to send a message or tell a story with simple guitar work or simple music craft. And that's what they do on some of these songs. Now, the only thing that I will say about this disc is that the 13-track, 1-hour runtime is still a bit overindulgent. I think this is an album that is best listened to in spurts, and whenever you do that, you tend to appreciate the material that you do happen to listen to a little bit more. It gives you a little bit more of a reason to continue forward. However, trying to listen to the entire album, unless you are on a long car ride or working out or doing something where you don't have to just simply focus on the album, can be a bit of a chore. And that's just... They had a lot of material. You know, they had a lot of material, and they thought that it was all very good. Can you really give them a lot of grief for that? I really can't give them too much grief for that, because the songs at least feel like they have some identity to them. The songs don't feel like monochrome wastes of recorded tape. There are some tracks on the first two albums that really feel like they didn't need to have the pen hit the paper. And it was almost like this band was trying to sort of craft out their identity and figure out who they were. They took a little bit longer time to kind of figure that out. Although they did get, you know, a large fan base, so what do I know? But this album feels a little bit more complete. It's one that has a lot more to offer, I feel. At least to a broader audience, as opposed to just those who perhaps are Mike Portnoy fans or Russell Allen fans, or those that heard a song of theirs on the radio and thought that they sounded pretty good, completely ignorant to who the band members are. This is an album I would give an 18 out of 32. It's still not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but by comparison to the past two albums, it's certainly a very big improvement. I would like to see them condense this a little bit on their next record, and really, if they want to continue anything, continue what they've explored with tracks such as The Killers Inside. How neat would it be to have a new modern hard rock song or metal song that was 7 or 8 minutes in length and felt just as big as it deserved to be? You know, kind of like what Blackbird did, you know, for a band such as for Alter Bridge. You know, it's just something that has that sort of panache to it. It has that savoir-faire that says, you will listen to us, you will love us, because we have the talent to do this. I'd love to see Adrenaline Mob get into that mode and really show off what they can do. I think that hard rock can easily be blended with some of their other talents, and I think that it could be handled very well, and I think this album is proof that they might be heading in that direction. But I want to know what you think. What do you think about We the People by Adrenaline Mob? Let me know in the comments below. I'm Cover Killer Nation, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Take care.